good. All right, no, back to what we were saying. Okay, Stephanie, you can continue. We're live.
Okay, give me the green light.
You're good. Go ahead. Continue.
Yeah, so I know people probably thought it was very selfish, but you know, like you said, it's survival of the fittest, survival of nationalism. These people are in desperate straits. Students were the main people who were the Africans, also Indians, people from other countries. You know, these now become secondary to your primary people who are born there and need to get refuge. So this is the first thought that comes to any kind of leader's mind. And then when they have other means of getting other people, will come to them, which is what's happening now, I understand. I'm not sure how true, but this is what I understand to be. But I can see that. I'm there with you with that. Similarly, if
Right.
it was any of our country, if it was Jamaica or any other country, you could see, can you see somebody else getting ahead of them, Jamaicans or anybody else? Not a
But
chance in the world.
what if the blacks, because the thing is that there is no, and I think because this seems to me like a genocide, because I mean it's genocide going on all over the world, because I mean there's so much distraction, because you have, like for instance, Guyana, you have so many different races. You got blacks, you got Indians, you got Chinese, you got whites, you got the natives there. Plus you got those who are of mixed races. They're all born into the country, because you got people who possibly who are blacks that are migrated or integrated through marriage or whatever into that country, because you are a national to the country of which you are born. So whether you are red, yellow, black, or white, we don't seem to understand the full story, because everything that seems to come out of the
Right,
West.
but Yvette, but you know, I'm taking it from the point, whereas when they advertise it, or what from what we hear and hear, we hear the students, like Stephanie just said, and all other, they didn't differentiate who they were. So my thought process is I would take care of my people first before I let anybody else go, you know? And I think that's one of the things that
What
we
if
don't
your
do.
people are white? Because let's say Trinity, or
Okay,
let's say
okay,
regardless,
but hold on,
you might have a
We're
rich
not talking,
country with
hold on.
mixed.
Okay, so Yvette, we're not talking
Mhm,
about black, or, I mean, in that content, we don't know who they are,
mhm.
correct? But based on what you were saying, these are students. These are work who came there. So my thing is, I would not put them before my people. And basically what we're seeing was black people. That's all that they were showing. And they um, put them as student. They never said they lived there trying to get out like the others. So
But the information that we're getting, because even if whether you listen to the news or where, because the news
hello,
feed,
Mr. Husbands.
the news feed is what we're getting. And then they're saying, because for instance, when they're showing us that Ukrainians shot down 3 of the Russian planes, then what they did say, and then from Wednesday night, not last Saturday night, everything changed, because then they said fact verifier. What you're seeing on TV is a clip from Star Wars. It's not the exact action that contained. And what we're getting now, we don't know whether the information that we're being fed is true or
And
false.
that's correct. And we'll never know because a lot of this information internet is cut off. So a lot of the things that they claim was false that they are showing. Like for example, they were saying, okay, the Ukrainians were showing Russians dead, shot, which they claim true or not true. We don't know that, right? So we just have to assume that is correct or not. But my
But
whole
they
thing is
did went
behind
back,
this. It's
they
not so much,
retracted,
okay, but I'm not
and say
really,
it was a clip. It
so you
was a
know
clip
what?
that they showing us from Star
Okay,
Wars. That's
Okay,
what
but listen,
the
right.
news feed was
But
saying.
but you know what, Yvette, my whole thing is, I'm not
Mhm.
debating what happens there because
Mhm.
my personal feeling, that's not
Mhm.
our war. We have our own battles to fight. I was
Right.
using it from a standpoint of relationship,
Mhm.
how we relate to each other. And then use that as an example. And I'm saying
Mhm.
that should we take care of our own first?
We should, but 9 times out of 10,
We
some would,
don't.
and some people
Correct.
would, and some people wouldn't. Because we go back to that word relationship. Because depend on the relationship you have with that person that you are helping, you're gonna reach out to that person first, because you have some people who would reach out if someone, like, for instance, I often talk about the relationship that I had with someone, and when anything comes up, I refer that person as my mother because of the type of help that I have gotten. And if I have to choose, if she calls for help and I have to go somewhere, I would leave. I don't care how much I pay to go to her because of the relationship that has developed between us.
Right, and that's, that's correct. For me, I would always put us first before I help an outsider. I know, like people say, okay, you get treated better than the outsiders. That may be true, but for me personally, I put us first. I put my people. I would put, if something happens, I would put my family first. If there's two people standing and I need to save one, I would save my family. Straight out. Even if they didn't talk to me ever after that, I would still save them first. That's me. Anybody else have anything different or something that they want to share pertaining to that?
Well, one,
Michael, you're smiling.
yeah, because I'm with this whole thing for quite a many years. The media is only allowed with whoever it is in power to let us know. But when you're getting it from other sources, then you can form to your understanding what may be going on. So since I have this, it's blacks first, then everything else, I do see it your way. But since blacks, when you say that word, because I think we're going to get away from that. We hear that term black because there are Hispanics that are black or colored, melanated, Indian, Native Americans, but they don't quite, when you say blacks, consider my American way of thinking, because I just have these conversations quite a many a time. But we come together when we're somewhere else, like they were referring to the students. They were just trying to get out of there. But then now we're hearing they would like them to fight alongside of them. That's the story we're getting. It's what we're hearing.
Okay. True. Correct. Okay, so just want to talk about that a little bit, and since before we get into our conversation. Okay, so tonight's topic is all right. Mommy, let me go. Okay, so why is it, the question is, that it's so hard for mothers to let their sons go?
That's interesting.
Huh?
I'm so guilty of that. Terrible. Terrible.
Okay, so before I give
I
my
don't think it's so.
opinion,
Some mothers, you have some mothers, because when we any particular subject that I look at, and I mean, like you said, my opinion, not all, because we can't put
well,
all our eggs in one
correct,
basket,
correct.
because
We're
all
saying
eggs
that,
do not fit in one basket. Because some mothers, I have a son, my son is 22. I let him go. I had to let him go.
Okay,
You
so
know,
no,
I
no,
wasn't trying
you
to
know,
hold on
sometimes
because
when we, you know, sometimes it's just like when we say anything is we generalizing, it's not all. We know that in every instances, even though we don't use the correct verbiage, but we know that very well. Okay, so one of the things that someone said to me is that mother raises their daughters and let them go, and they love their sons.
I
I
think it,
think it comes
um,
back to the relationship, because
Okay.
the thing is, if you're
Okay.
having a good relationship with someone, you try to hold on. And most mothers, because of, and again, whenever anyone speaks, I'm quite sure it's their opinion, because I mean, facts and theory changes respectively to individuals. And you know, sometimes it's not that mothers do not want to let their sons go, but depends on the experiences that their sons are having when they're out
I
there. They
I
come
tend
back
to
to the nest for nurturing,
no,
because
I
they may
tend
not
to
be getting
kind
that
of
nurturing.
I tend to disagree with that to a certain degree. But let me hear what Yvonne had to say, Yvette, for a minute.
well, speaking about sons, I think it's a historical thing and it's a multicultural thing. In all cultures, you find that the male son is most valued than the daughters. You know, they
Right.
put a high value system for males, you know, and I think that's been going on since the beginning of humanity. It's always been that way. So we kind of like inherit that culture. It's a multicultural thing. It's just all over in every culture, and it's just like a natural thing for us to put a higher value on our sons than our daughters. Now, I recently lost my son, my oldest son, in 2020, and I have two sons and two daughters, and I think like my oldest daughter is a little bit jealous of my relationships with my sons because I'm very close with my sons. I was always very close with them. It's like, and especially my oldest son, he was so stuck to me. I'm still traumatized over his death, you know, so to speak. I miss him every day. Thank God I do dream about him. Um, and it's the generational thing that we just inherit this from our ancestors to value sons. We don't intentionally, it's not like we love them more than we love our daughters, but it's just an inbred thing in us to place more value on the sons than we do the daughters. And I have one older brother, and my mother, she was more attached to my brother than she was to me. In fact, I was a little jealous because I thought she loved him more than she loved me. But at the same time, I was close to my father. So, you know, it weighs out in the long run, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they said, that moms are close to their sons and daughters are close to their sons. But kind of like what you're saying there, we nurture the sons more than the daughters, right? In some instances. But someone just, I get this message here that says, I myself have a hard time showing the amount of love to my daughter as I do to my son. The bond is different, and I feel more obligated to my son than my daughter.
No, but Beverly, that's exactly what I was talking about, because the bond is the relationship that you have with your son than your daughter, because you can't have two women in one house. And for most household, I don't know, for some of the households that I know my household, you have a much better relationship with your son. But with your daughter, you're more in competition with your daughter than you are with your son, because with your son,
Did you say,
and it's not a
wait,
matter of
correction. You
value,
said,
but
wait, hold on.
emotional, because
Yvette,
years
Yvette, Yvette,
ago,
Yvette,
uh-huh.
1 second. Did I hear you say we're in competition with our daughters? Did I hear correctly?
Well, no, we're not in competition, but our daughter, but yeah, well, somewhere, well, not I am, but there are some women who are are competing with their daughters. And, and for most women, like I said, and I felt, and I mean, we all agree to disagree. We talk about value, but value was back in those days where you value children. But in the 21st century, in present day, it's more about relationship. The relationship that you have with your daughter or your son.
Okay.
I have
So-
another thought about this because of examples where I've seen economically, especially in single mother households, you find that mothers will hold on to their sons for economic means. The son is helping to bring in and sustain the household economically. And so they're looking for that, son to make sure, hey, you pass me a little check, help me pay the rent, help me get my car note paid. Come on, I don't have a leader man in the house. You are now the man of the house. So I need you to do a little something, pass a little something my way. So a lot of times you have that, and that bond is there because of that as well.
It's interesting that you said that because I call people who not name the neighbor. So when I refer to the neighbor, it's somebody's message, okay? So the neighbor said, I think I would have issues stemming from being a single mom and the relationship between a single mom and her son. Single mom tends to use their son as a security blanket because most of them don't have a man in the house, and the man never really stick around. So I would recognize the dynamics of the mother's history.
Yeah.
So just kind of like you mentioned, but there's two sides really to that. There's, okay, you said for the economic reasons, and I can understand that.
Yeah.
However, I see the other point of it is, while they're doing that though, they don't take care of the kid. The son, she doesn't like any woman that gets involved in their son's life. If they're married, they cause chaos in that family where they
Yes.
force the son to pick between your wife, I'm going to say, and your mom. Then they have the mothers who they handicap their sons. Like I know quite a few. I'm paying his bills. I'm doing this, paying his car notes. If you can't pay a car note, you don't need to have a car. Okay, you need money for shoes. You need bus fare. So a lot of these same women say, "I want a good man," but how are you preparing your son for that good woman? Or is it that you want to hold on to that son and still have that good man? Are you not preparing your son for somebody else who wants a good man?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
That's
Beverly,
good.
the reality is, which is true for some women, when they hold on like that, because when I say relationship, because like I said, a relationship, because for some households, the relationship would go as far as where it becomes sexual.
Toxic. Right? How about you, man? I haven't heard from you guys. I mean, in reality, they call him mama's boy, right? Like me and my son is close, but I don't interfere in his personal life. I don't expect for him to stop whatever he's doing because I need something, unless I'm dying. Okay, right? But other than that, he have his life and do whatever you want. Because to me, these mothers that latch on to their son that didn't even teach them responsibility, think about what happens the day that mother is not around. You done gave him breast milk forever, right? So he's going to find a woman that he's going to want to latch on and expect the same thing from them. And when he doesn't receive that, then that woman is a bee, she's a this, she's everything else except a woman, because she didn't give you breast milk like your mama.
Yeah.
Well, it's like my for instance, it's to the extreme. I'm not against mothers being close to their sons. I mean, like I said, I
I'm not
believe
either.
thing we inherited, and this is cross-cultural and everything. But I think there's an extreme. I think some mothers are really, really to the point where it's unbearable. And my experience with my ex-husband and his mother is one of those things, because my mother-in-law, that's the only son that she has. And I appreciate that they love each other, but it's to the extreme where she's so overbearing. It is sick. In fact, because of she, it kind of helped to cause a big thing between me and my husband, where we had to be separated. And
Correct.
after we got divorced, he remarried again, and in 8 months he was divorced. That woman left, all because of his mother. You know,
Of the
because she
mother.
just won't let
Correct,
go.
correct.
She comes in, and anything she says, like no matter what me and my husband planned, when she comes, she changes everything, and he goes along. He doesn't know how to stand up to her. He cannot stand up as a man. Whenever she's around, he's like a little boy, you know. And it really it got to me. It was very, very frustrating, because we couldn't plan anything, and he does everything she says. And I mean, that I wish I had seen this before I married him, because I would have never married him, you know. But it goes to show, I mean, he married someone else like a few years after we got divorced, and in 8 months they were divorced, because it was the
Right.
same thing that woman went through, you know. So that to me is to the
These
extreme, you know.
Right. These type of men don't know how to set boundaries with their mother. They don't know how to say, no,
Yeah.
mom, you know what? I have my life. You already lived your life.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I had this friend that her daughter got married to this guy. The mother would come into the house. What are you cooking for my son? Oh, my son don't eat this. I was like, no way she could come in my house, you know? And like, and then she
Yeah.
would call the girl's mom to say, look, my son is not used to this. She's like, I used to be crying. Are you kidding me? You know,
Yeah.
set boundaries. You know, it's okay to love your sons, but
Yeah.
you have to set boundaries. They have to have some type of boundary.
Yeah.
But here's the thing with that. A mother who is acting like that, you know, in other words, her identity is in being in that role of being a mother, and it exudes a lot of power over another person. And so as that son is growing up into adulthood, that son can't find their way, because the power is never let go from mother to son, and even the mother to a daughter. It could be to a daughter too, but more so to the son, because it's always the opposite gender that you always go to in terms of, you know, looking to that nurturing person is the opposite gender that they look to. That's research said that many times over. And that power,
Yeah.
a mother like that feels that power. They have a daughter-in-law. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna make sure she knows who is in charge here.
Yeah.
And so that is a whole big power struggle, and you
Yeah.
know who's gonna win this big old power struggle. And the son is caught in the middle and really has to fall back, because he doesn't
But
know how to come up with that conflict resolution for that.
right, because
So is
you're
the
trying to
issue
keep both people happy, and in the end, it's I wouldn't say that indirectly the mother win, because he doesn't know how to prioritize. You
Right.
know, your mother does not come first.
Yeah.
so is the issue here mothers letting go of their sons, or is the issue sons being controlled by their mother? Because I'm confused.
But well, the thing is, it is controlled because she take it too far. However, the son needs to cut that umbilical cord and say, Mom, you know what? I'm at this age, it's time to just stop giving me breast milk, let me go. But sometimes the needy son would not let that happen, because guess what? Mama is the crutch. She's paying your bills, she's doing this. Whenever something happened, even if you move out on your own, here, you can come in when leave, come back, leave, come back. That door is always open for you. So if you didn't have that opportunity, then you wouldn't be doing those things,
Mm.
No, but
right?
isn't any parent, if a child, you know, has some sort of issues and they just broke up with their spouse or whatever, and they used to live on their own and now they have like financial issues, wouldn't it be, a thing where they want to move back in because of certain circumstances? So, I don't think that's just related to mothers and their sons. I think that's just in general for a parent. If you see like your child is struggling, that they're used to being independent and they're going through patches, then it's not like the person just always just in the basement and never leaves.
But those are the exceptions, like Yvette was mentioning earlier. Those are the exceptions. We're talking about the one that's not going to leave and still allow mom to control them. So there's just two aspects of that. Okay. I mean, we totally understand. If something happens to you, of course you're welcome to come back. I'm not going to see you out in the street. That's a different circumstance,
Don't believe it, Eric.
Who said that? Mr. Husbands, you're looking for trouble.
I don't have to look, I always find it.
No, but you see, with everything, I think we all agree individually, individual experience. And maybe the son, it may seems as if the mother is holding on to the son, but most likely the son probably, in some cases, because there's always going to be some cases where that child needs emotional support, or maybe he has a spouse that he can't talk to, so I can talk much better with my mother and understand it. Or might be some mental issues, because a lot of us are going through some emotional issues, and it's not all sweet.
Right,
It's
but
not
Yvette,
all.
those are all the exceptions. Those are all the exceptions, right? Because of course, there's some kids, male child, female child, that if they have issues, of course, we have to monitor them, we have to watch over them, we have to give them extra nourishing. But we're just talking about the ones that the mama just would not let go at
Is
no
it
cost. They make the wife or the girlfriend life miserable because they don't know how to let go, and the son do not know how to set that boundary.
Yeah.
is it quite possible that from the very beginning, the mother saw that child as her possession, that they're going to raise them to rely on them and to take care of them later on in life, and refuse to allow them to develop a sense of independence and responsibility, so that when they leave the nest, quote unquote, they have never left, because mom is defining and directing what direction they're going to go. Why would a grown person who is mature, know the responsibility as being an adult as a male, not be in a position to say to mom, I'm a married man now, I've taken on this responsibility as a husband, probably a father, and therefore there's a place for you, but your place is no longer first. I was not raised to take care of you forever. I was not raised to be the surrogate husband or the surrogate man in your life. I was raised to be an independent person who now has taken on that step to be a parent or a husband or a boyfriend. So therefore, there's a place for you. I'll do what I need to do for you as your son, but there's a line that you will not be able to cross. And a lot of times you'll
Correct.
find that they are raised, because I've heard it growing up. When my child grows up, they're gonna take care of me. They refuse to let them be responsible and become an adult, because they position themselves to be, I need you, I want you, you have to be here for me.
That's a good point. It's a very good point.
I agree.
And Mr. Husband, too, you are correct, because I have this friend that he's been living with a woman. They broke up. He has 3 children with her. His mom died late last year. And I've already seen it out of conversation because, you know, people don't have to say certain things. But he said to me, oh, my mother made me promise that as long as she's alive, I will not get married.
There you go.
That's the edict. That's a decree.
Right.
And he's 65 years old and never been married. So
Oh my
was it
God.
fair that it's okay for you to have 3 children with this woman, live with this woman,
But
even
you
though
can't
he's
marry.
financially stable, so he doesn't need anything, you know, because the mom also has a lot of money. So
Well,
to
mama
say to
wasn't
him,
there when he was having sex.
But that doesn't matter.
what does that have to do with it though? They're his children.
No, but when he was a child, the situation depends on whether he was taught to think as a child, to act as a child, and has he become a man? Because at certain point in time, I'm quite sure he's had to say, well, I'm a grown man now, and you don't tell me what to do. I'm a
Unfortunately,
grown man and I'm gonna go out with this girl and you can't tell me nothing.
So
Apparently, he
Yvette,
didn't do
Mama
that.
cannot act like the wife,
Yvette, the
because the
problem
wife
with
can
him
hold
was,
him down.
Yvette,
So
she
if
didn't have
that's
a
something that
problem
he
with
allowed,
Yvette. She didn't have
mhm,
a problem with him going out with other women and evidently having kids with other women. He just was not going to marry no
Marry.
woman. There was not going to be a Mrs. Anybody.
but
He
that's
didn't
a
grow up.
choice. That's a manly choice. That's a choice
no,
because regardless of when you're out in the street and somebody put a gun to your head and they say your money or your life, you have to choose.
That's
well,
You
Yvette, that
have to
is
make a
control.
decision. He made a decision.
right. He
That's a
made a choice
decision,
to.
conscious or unconscious. Nobody gave him a pill. Nobody hypnotized him and say, I want to go to bed with you tonight and I don't care what your mama say. You coming with me. He made that choice as a
Yes,
man, not
yes,
as a
Yvette.
boy.
Yes, Yvette. He made that choice, but it was a dictate that he decided to follow by his mother. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what type of relationship he had. It was a dictate that his mother made sure that she brought him to the point where that dictate con- controlled the rest of his life. And
Yeah.
he was raised to make sure that that was the stipulation and that he would have to follow that stipulation. He never got to the point where he developed the strength or the courage to say to his mother, I am a grown man, I want to get married and I'm going to get married. It came to a
Correct.
point, evidently, to some degree, where yes, he had relationships, but that as far as they were going to go. I can't get
Correct.
married to you because guess what? Mom say I can't get married as long as she's alive.
Correct.
So
He
she
So,
never cut.
so
He never cut the cord, and his mother never cut the cord.
correct.
Only way
absolutely
they was gonna cut it was like through a
As far
marriage,
as
through
I'm
death do us
concerned,
part. Until
there was
death
some
do us
kind of
part. He married to his
elastic
mother.
thread. There was some kind of elastic thread tied on there because soon as he
Okay.
left, he came back.
Okay, right. So listen, Jimmy says that same book let us know when he laid that pipe, she became his wife.
right.
So Bonnie says that his mother is his excuse. He made his choice.
I
Mhm.
would not, I would not agree with that. Yes, he made his choice. But if you raise some person with certain stipulations and you inbred upon them to follow a certain path, even though that person is an adult, that is the force that his mother seemed to have over him. We don't know the extent of it, but it seems that that is what she's made sure that guess what? You are never going to get married, not as long as I'm alive. And,
Correct.
and that is what he followed. Yes, he's an adult, but guess what? He still obeyed his mother at 60 something years old.
He was an
Correct.
adult with stipulation.
Right.
Correct.
Is there a reason why she didn't want him to get married? Is there some logical reason why?
Not
You know what?
necessarily so.
Selfishness.
Right.
Correct,
Selfishness and
Yvonne.
control.
Selfishness and
And
control.
control.
And
Control.
And I
control.
think,
Yeah.
Control and
and
power.
Yeah.
control. I
Yeah.
think, I think the other thing is because it's family wealth passed down. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that because she left him very wealthy when she died. So I'm
Where,
thinking maybe
where
she
was his
did
father?
not.
Where
Huh?
was his father? Where was his father?
You don't want to
Okay,
know.
so no, they got divorced. Okay, so they got divorced years ago. However, she's been living with the man for 20 something years. So that's the funny thing. It's okay, but she did the same thing. She never remarried. So that means that nobody's ever going to get what I have.
Right. Wealth
That's how
control.
I look at it.
Wealth control.
Control freak.
Yes,
Control.
wealth control.
Because
And he was in love with whatever she had.
Right.
Well,
Wealth
Correct.
control.
there seems to be some unexplained dynamics.
Right.
Nah,
Yes,
it's
about
explained. It's
Well,
I think
explained.
it's like, no,
question.
Mama
Stephanie
had
said
the money.
control,
Mama had the money. I
right.
want the money. So
Right.
this is what I got to do to get the
but
money, and this is what
There you
I'm going
go.
to do.
Right.
That is
And
it.
mom,
but
Let me
but
ask
but
this
the thing
question.
is, he was the only child, so he was gonna get the money regardless.
but
He didn't know that.
it
Well,
was
let me
Mama
it,
messed my mama messed his mind up that he figured that he had to do what mama said to
No,
get the
no,
money.
mama might leave the money to the cat.
right.
do we, do we
That
find,
is true. It was
do we
money
find
control.
do we find this kind of relationship with mothers and sons where it's only the mother figure is raising
No.
the son, or because I usually would see it this way. It's usually when the mother is a single parent, rather than if the mother has a spouse, or if the father, or if stepfather, she would have her own life and have her own
Right.
business to mind, but she
I
would
think that
involved
No,
with her son's life and his affairs.
I think the mother probably
know,
had her own
no,
insecurities, and
right.
she just
Yeah,
compounded them on him.
yeah. I
But
think
you
so
know
too.
what? The thing is, it's even it's not only single mothers. I know
No,
some
it's not.
woman that I know some mother is the kid's mother and father, and the mother
Yeah.
still wants that control. It's like nobody's good enough for my son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And the father never stepped in and said it's time for you to back up, or he
Correct.
didn't have any control, and so she got away with it.
Yeah. So maybe
Yeah.
she's even
You're
controlling the
absolutely correct.
Exactly.
yeah.
There's a lot of dynamics that goes on in wealthy families. Who controls the purse? Who has a bloodline that produces the wealth? They determine who gets part of it, where it's going to go. So they exercise a lot of control to say, hey, you are not going to pass it on to anybody. All wealth stays in a certain family that we want to associate with. What bloodline we want to be part of? Who is going to get part of that? You, the husband, yeah, I married you and you gave me a son, you gave me a child. But guess what? You have no control over our money. You
Yeah.
get your piece of the pie. When I give it to you, everything else, I determine where it goes. Or my parents told me I can only do so much with what I have. There's a limitation.
And that was great. I was going to say that's probably how she was raised, and then she just passed it on.
Pathology. Yeah, the
That's
Yeah,
why
pathology.
she
And
never
here's
could
and,
get.
and, and another thing I see a lot of is when oh God, I think my brain just went dead there. I was just I gotta get my train of thought back. Sorry about that. I'm gonna get it back. I just
No, when you get 60 or close to it, it happens.
senior moment, right? Yeah,
Speak for yourself, sir.
it'll work itself out. I'm gonna
Only when I'm going
get
60 miles an
quiet.
hour
One of
does
my
that happen.
spark plugs might loose.
Okay. So Mr. Jimmy quoted Deuteronomy 22:28. If a man finds a damsel, that is a virgin.
Mm.
Say that again.
You're hold on.
You break it up. I can't hear you.
It's quoting from the
Can you
Bible.
hear me? Yeah. He's quoting the Bible for us.
That's another issue. A whole nother issue.
That's a whole nother issue.
Yeah, I was gonna say that a mom has that role of being a mom for so long, and when the child grows into adulthood, is like an NFL player. They retire and they really don't know their role, what's their next mission or their next journey, their next path, and they're so lost. And so the whole thing is you gotta keep going. You go get a little league to coach or something that keeps you in that aura of what you know and feel comforted by. And so it's kind of similar for the mom. I'm been a mom. I don't know. Look, my son, he just left and got his own apartment. And I think for like 2 weeks, I was lost. I'm like, what? You really did that? I can't believe it. Oh my God, he's only 23 years old. What is he saying? Is he crazy? I mean, I'm supposed to look after him, supposed to protect him. He's a black man in America. What's going to happen? Everything's going to fall apart. All of these were thoughts going through my mind for like a whole 2 weeks when this thing actually happened. So here I was in that frame of mind of what am I going to do? What's my next role? I mean, this is not happening. And I was losing it. So, I can see where the emotions, the whole, that comfort zone is impacted. You want to still be protective. You've been doing it for so long. There's no other way, So this is, I think, a lot of why we just don't want to let go to.
Well, that's the dynamics that Beverly is talking about. And she, when she made the meeting notice as, why is it so hard for the mothers to let go? So like Michael husband was saying, there's so many dynamics. My piece is something what Galaxy was hitting on a little bit about the husbands and the fathers. I'm old school like some of you guys, and I go back and but there's the father, without the father it gets tough. Now when Beverly says, why is it so hard for mothers to let go? Because mother is the nurturer. The women are the nurturers. They're the nurturers. They had these children, every mother, and they're more closer to the boys and the girls than the fathers are. In that respect, in the nurturing respect, they give the love, and they're emotional and all that stuff. So that's why it's hard for women. My problem is when they don't have the help. I get touched on that. When you have the children and there's nobody to help. There's no male. There's no men. And I see men, I say men, I mean responsible. They're not there. So the woman's got to take a dual role. And it gets tough. It's not that they can't do it, but it's not easy.
So are you saying that's an excuse or a reason why mothers holds on to the son?
That's part of it. The biggest part is because the mother is the nurturer. The mother is the nurturer of children, not the men. The mother gives the children, has the children, goes through it. Men don't even know nothing about that. Men don't know about that part. So the mother naturally, it's hard for a woman, a mother, to see their children go. So the man, if the man has that responsibility and is with there, then that's where it kind of hopefully balances out. Because the man is going to say, she has to go, or he has to go. He has to go. It's time. But the mother, is more, that's what it's hard to let the children go because they're mothers, they're nurturers. So it gets,
Not me. As long as I know they're good.
Well, Eric, after you, sir.
Go ahead, Eric.
No, I'm saying yes and no.
Tell the truth, Eric.
Yeah, but yes and no, because if you're a male and you have a daughter, the same rule would apply where you want to take care of your female child, because that's your little girl, whatever.
Right.
So I don't think that's the case in terms of like trying to push children out because the father is more of a provider than a nurturer, because I've seen some men that's more nurturing than women.
Amen.
And that's what I was saying. I agree with my man to an extent, but it does that one decision does not cover all women and all men. You know, people gotta raise themselves, and sometimes they go by how they were raised, and they make the same mistakes that their parents make, and some of them use the way they were raised to make their own decisions, and they go overboard. You know, some women are nurturers by nature, but men are too, and you just gotta know your role. And what we need to do is we need to be like the bird. You know, the bird take care of the baby, make sure he eat it, feed it, take care of it. But when it's time for him or her to move on, give him that push. A lot of us don't like to push. A lot of us like to hold on, and and I'm not. No, don't get me wrong, ladies. Don't beat me up. But some women will take out on the son because the father did this, or he didn't do this, or he was supposed to do this and he didn't do that. So I'm gonna make sure my son
Yep,
do it. You know,
that's correct.
it's a different category for different people. It's all how mature, nurturalize things and how you want it for yourself. You know, so I
There's
agree
a,
with you, but I disagree with
there's a lot of dynamics that goes on in life, in reality.
you. Right,
Nothing is etched in stone
right,
for the most part. When it comes to behavior, when it comes to feelings, there's always exceptions to the rules. There's always different perspective. A lot of times we'll look at things from our experiences and our personal perspective of life and pass it on to other situations. But the reality of it, for the most part, is every single person has their own dynamics. There are too many variables. We can look at some things that are correlated and say, yes, this is similar. This is a group of people who are acting this way. There will always be exceptions. A lot of times when it comes, yes, women are mostly, for the most part, nurturing, but a lot of times the dynamics that causes problems is that people give birth to a child and it becomes their possession.
right.
And as they grow up, it's
Correct.
like, nope, you're mine, you're mine, you're mine. One thing I learned very early in life is the day that that child is born, learn to let go. Because there's going to come a time when they're going to be ready to leave the nest. And if you want them to
Correct.
grow up and be a responsible adult or human being doing the best for
Hello.
society, you learn to let them go little by little till they get to the point where it's okay, you might need my help, and I'm here for you forever because forever I'm your parent and you're my child. That will never
Correct.
ever change. But there comes a point where we have to be able to say, hey, I will help you, but I want you to help find your solution.
But
You
this
need
is
my
why
help?
you have to teach, because this is our role. I feel as
Yes.
a parent, you got
Yes,
to
we're
teach,
supposed to
because
teach.
like the gentleman talk about the bird teach her young ones to fly, and then she have to let go sometimes. Sometimes they fly underneath to guide
Yes,
them up.
right.
And then there are times when you allow them, because children got to make their own mistakes. We got to make our own mistakes as
We
adults.
all do.
You
We
know,
all
That's
this
do.
is
how
what
we
we
grow.
call experience. Experience is, we say that because we're grown, we're experienced, but children have to make their own, they have to gain their own experience.
That's correct.
Girls
You
are
know,
always
we
quick to
because
leave home anyway.
we wanted our own experience, because we talk about the topic old versus new, where we wanted to change some of the things that our parents did, but then we have to also allow them to grow, because they got to grow on their own sometimes. They're going to do
That's
things that
true.
we don't like, but then we have to accept it.
And
Um, the, Sometimes though, but a lot of times parents want to leave. Dwayne, could you mute yourself, please?
Oh, you want me to
Unless,
mute myself?
yeah, unless
Don't
you're
hear
gonna
me?
say something, because we're hearing the noise.
Okay.
If you have
Well, I
something to
was
say,
going to
that's
say something.
fine. No, but go ahead and
Okay.
talk. It's fine.
Well, I've listened to all of what everybody has basically said. And for the most part, most people have to realize that, just like they said, everybody has to feel that a child has to grow up on their own. You as a parent, you can help them grow and learn and do everything that they need to do in life. But you got to give them their own chance to experience what is their life. As a parent, you can only do but so much for them. But after a point, you got to let them go out there and fight for everything that they get learn everything that they can, and be as responsible as they can be. And as a parent, you have to know you don't have to cut the cord, but what you have to do, you have to know when to let that cord get some little bit of looseness in it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way, okay, I let you do what you want to do. If it works out for you, that's fine. If it don't, well, as your parent, mother, or father, I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
be there to help you get back up on your feet.
Absolutely.
You're going to have to figure out how you're going to do from this point. What did you learn from that point? And then
Yep.
go from that point and then do what is going to be feasible to help you be what we determine as a man. And cutting the cord loose is never anything that anybody can do for either parent. But it's harder, like I say, for a mother to let go because, as you say, she formed that bond with that child in the womb. And like you say, when a lot of times they don't form that bond, just like in the case of Sherry Shepherd, why is she not taking care of the son that she had or that this white woman carried for her? And the reason why, because she didn't form that bond. And that's what the bond is for everybody.
That's not necessary because there are people who have surrogates and they love them just like they gave birth and carried them. So I don't would consider that a factor. But you know, the thing is, it's not every this okay, I want to read this. Bonnie says that in this case, in my case, my mom was specific to me when my son was young to tell me that he was not a toy nor a dog. My job was to nurture him and prepare him to stand on his own 2 feet. Sometimes mom have not been trained or told. They are repeating what they are taught, and this is correct. But specifically, sometimes if just like Yvonne was saying, mentioning that, you know, her kids think that they favor one. It's always in most cases that the parent is one kid that they can't let go. And most time it's the son. And girls, as we all know, we be ready to leave home. Like we just tired. Like, mommy, I'm tired of what you saying. We ready to leave, right? The
And
thing is,
sorry.
go ahead.
And that's where the competition comes in sometimes
What do you mean competition?
between mother and daughter.
You think can you be a little more specific when you say competition?
Well, just that you made a statement, Mom, I'm tired. I want to get out of here. What are you tired of?
I think with the girls though, it's not I don't see it as a competition. I see that we don't want to listen to their rules. Like for me, when I was young, I couldn't wait to leave home because I wanted to go to these parties. We couldn't do this, we couldn't do this. So I couldn't wait to leave so I could do what I want to do without restrictions. But the funny thing is, when I did leave home, I didn't no longer wanted to do this because there was nobody to tell me what I can and cannot do.
You did, right. So you
So
were being
I don't
right.
see it as a competition. I
Well,
look at it
maybe
as
that.
rules. You tell me what I'm like almost 19 years old. You used to tell me I can't do this. So
Well,
girls like, we want to leave.
maybe that might be the incorrect word, but there is a battle between the two of you where there is, hey, as you said, they can happen to a father and a son, or a father and a daughter, a mother and a son. I don't want to follow your rules, but sometimes we look at it as there is testosterone, not testosterone, it's the estrogen in the relationship that sometimes create a conflict, and that is obviously a different dynamics. But we find that conflict of battle. I'm a grown woman, I'm a grown person, I can do whatever I want to do. So that creates some havoc in relationships and the dynamics. You want to go there and find out that, guess what? It's not as green as you thought it was out there. But like I said, that may have been a incorrect word that I chose to use. But there's that dynamics that occur in a relationship, whether it's between male and female, or male and male, or female and female. And you had that experience and you realize that, guess what? The rules the parameters that were being set by my parent are there for a reason. And it was to protect me.
And you know what? And that's in a household where there were rules. And then there are some households where there are no rules. And then there are some households where the mother go ape mess over the son, and let the daughters and them, you know, go crazy, or vice versa. So it differs. It differs. It all depends on the person. I think as a parent, our job is to raise our children to become grown.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We need to prepare them for, you know, and they need to understand that eventually you're gonna leave here. You're not gonna live here all the time. Eventually you're
Right.
gonna leave here. But we got a lot of parents
Right.
that don't train our children like that. You know, oh,
Right.
this is your home. This is your, yeah, this is always gonna be your home, but you ain't gonna always sleep here.
Right.
But Eric, what I used to tell you all, that room is borrowed till you leave. It wasn't yours, right? But,
Yeah.
no, but
Sometimes
you know,
we don't prepare our kids. We don't prepare our kids for flight. You know, and that's where all the problem comes in.
specifically is, you know, my whole thing about this is there's the one, you know, because the mother could have 5 sons and she couldn't care less if the other 4 leave, right? But there's that one that she latch on to, that you got to stay here, you know, you baby him, and the bunch of excuses, you know what? Well, you guys could make it on your own. You know what? Like, he having a hard time, you know, because I hear a lot of women mixed excuses. It's excuses as to why I'm latching on. You find, oh, well, you know, he's the last, or you know what? He's the oldest one, and, you know, he had a hard time. He didn't get enough attention. All these reasons why she can't stop giving him breast milk.
Well, you know what though, Bev? I'm gonna say this. Growing up in a household with 3 brothers, so it's nothing but men. Some men, we grow, and a mother knows the weak one or the strong one. You know, and some children, you gotta give them a little bit more than you give the other one. You know, and so maybe that mother might identify that this one needs a little bit more than you do, because you can handle it. You can deal with diversity. You can deal with, failure. You can deal with, your heart getting broken and not trying to kill yourself. Different people, different makeup for different people. So, and I'm not gonna say all mothers are that way, but some mothers would be like, okay, I'm gonna give you a little bit, to themselves, I'm gonna give you a little bit more than I give John because you need a little bit more. But that's just how it is. But sometimes it can become stifling. It can
That's
become
correct.
stifling. We need to be preparing our kids. We need to be preparing our kids to become us. What I mean by that is, do you become a parent, or you learn to take care of yourself? You learn to move forward. You need to, do for yourself and do for what you create. And a lot of us, we don't prepare our kids for that. Some of us, we grew up in households where we were really, going through some hell, and my kid's never gonna go through that. Okay, well, good. When your kid ain't got to go through hell, but your kid still needs to be growing and being able to move on, because God forbid you may have a great relationship with your child, and you might leave tomorrow, because tomorrow ain't promised to nobody. And your job is to make sure that if I'm here, if I'm not here, my child can move on. He or she can take care of themselves. He or she knows right from wrong. He or she is not going to do something to put themselves in a harmful situation. But like I said, it all depends on the different elements of the children, because some children are grown at a certain age, and some kids, it take forever to grow up.
Yeah, but if you don't give them the opportunity, they'll still will never grow up. They'll still
That's true.
be latching on. So
That's
like
true.
you mentioned earlier, we have to at all costs give them the tools. I don't care what kind of disability you mentally think that they have, you still have to prepare them just in case something happened to you. Because one of the things that hold true, everybody loves you while your parents is around. What happens when they're gone? You on your own. So you have to prepare them for that time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I like the point you made, Bev, about the fact that the moms make a lot of excuses for their sons. I remember I had some Italian neighbors, and they had 2 daughters and a son. The daughters, by a certain age, they have to be out the house, they have to be married, they have to have a family already started. But that one son, who was the oldest of the 3, she said, "Oh no, I had his laundry ready for him, and I had his favorite meal done, and no, he's not ready yet. Oh my goodness, he's looking for a job, and he didn't get the job that he wanted. He was gonna get the exam to pass this exam, and he didn't pass, and every day it was a new story as to why he had to
Correct.
stay home in that
That's
house."
exactly, Stephanie, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Those kind.
There you
Not the
go.
one that you,
Those
not
kind.
the ones, those kind I'm talking
Those
about.
kind.
But
Not-
you have to be more specific
And
next
they
time,
exist.
Beverly.
They
No, but it's
exist.
good. It's
Yeah,
but
yeah,
specifically, she makes all kinds of
all
excuses
kinds of
why he can't.
excuses.
Make his
Yeah.
excuses why he don't have the money to pay the car note.
And
You're
guess
paying
what,
the
Bev?
car note.
Guess what, Bev? That same son one night slapped his mother in front of
Mm-hmm.
everybody because he
Mm-hmm.
started to lose respect for her
Yes.
because she
Yes.
allowed him to go above and beyond doing so many things that were so disrespectful. So, I mean,
Yep.
it gets to a
You
point of
know,
extreme and then it becomes really outrageous.
you know what?
Well,
Interesting. It's
unfortunately,
interesting that you hold on, Mr.
sure.
Husband. It's interesting that you say that because you know what? Eventually, that's what happens because I know parents that happen to because they start living in fear because you're right. The kids do not end up having respect for them, so they secretly abuse them. So when we thinking that they continuously spoiling them, they're living in fear of them because you
That's
spoil them
big
so
point.
long. So
Yep.
Big
what
point.
happens
Big
when you
point.
don't give me that car note money? I'm gonna slap you upside your head, right?
Yes.
Nobody's know because when companies are wrong, I'm the nicest kid ever. Mommy, you need this or you need that. So you're absolutely correct about that.
But
Yeah.
here's the other thing to that. I found out after the fact that her ex-husband she was a victim of domestic violence when the children were younger from her ex-husband. So here's the son following in the father's footsteps.
Correct.
No,
that.
that's the mother preparing the son to follow in the father's footsteps.
Wow, wow, that's big.
Yes.
That's
That
what
is.
happened.
Mr. Husband. Go
Yes,
ahead, Mr. Husband.
I can understand why that statement is being made because you get to a point where some person is constantly enabling you that you end up losing respect for that person and yourself.
Yep.
You lash out. It is, wait a
Yep.
minute, I cannot do anything because you don't allow me to do anything. You're taking care of me. You're not allowing me to grow nothing. And you
Yep.
get frustrated. And that is why you see the dynamics of people getting hurt. And they think that I'm loving you and I'm giving you everything. Why would you hurt me? But guess what?
Correct.
You never gave me the freedom or the tools to be a responsible adult.
There you go.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct. It's correct.
yeah.
Okay. Eva, you have your hands up.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I think everyone has expressed themselves in an excellent manner. However, in listening to everyone, I just wanted to go back to the old saying that children do not come with an instruction book. So therefore, everyone, because of lifestyle, environment, from what they see, for what, you know, they are taught, they learn different techniques in terms of parenting. Some may not be the best, but if that's what you know, then that's what you're going to follow. And there's a lot of things that we would like to see parents do, but because they never seen it done or they never experienced it, they don't know what to do. So I guess you could say for lack of knowledge or a lack of trying to find out a better manner of doing something, that we have all of these issues. I know someone, I think Miss Yvette brought up about it's not so much sometimes the mother not wanting to let go. So because I was in the middle of doing something, I couldn't really chime in, but what I wanted to say is I know a lot of examples of mothers that because they feel guilt or whatever reason, because maybe they wasn't there when a child was younger, that they allow these adult children to come home and then start manipulating their lives. Whereas they can't do anything because the kid refused to go someplace and grow up because he wants to guilt the parent and start that, oh, mom, I can't make it without you. Oh, mom, you know, you didn't help me when I was a kid. So, oh, I need a place to stay. You're going to kick me out now? You know, so it's just so much that parents deal with. So I just wanted to say everyone was spot on. But as they say, kids don't come with instructions.
Neither do parents.
That you can do and pray that you're giving them the tools to be successful men and women as they grow up. And that's all you can pray, because I know people from all walks of life. I know doctors, politicians, children, they give them everything and they're horrible. I know.
Terrible.
people that-
But even
Yeah,
right,
better.
and that's what you're saying, rightfully said, they give them everything and they're horrible, but
Yep.
it's the parents. It still goes back
Correct.
to the parents.
Correct.
Everything, and not all instances, but 90% of the time, what
Well,
happens to the kids, it's the
that's
parents.
true, but then
Maybe
not
90s a lot, but
that's true, but I wouldn't say 90. I would say,
so
because you
that's
still
a
have a,
little, but
yes, but there's still a percentage that they appreciate what their parents did. They are humble and have humility for all that their parents did for them. So they
But
don't
that's-
abuse it. So they are
but that's
productive adults. And the other ones are just spoiled rotten and feel entitled and think that everybody still needs to cater to them. And they take that poor
Right.
behavior throughout life, on a job, in relationships. And when you don't do that, then they have problems because someone is
Right,
finally having the audacity to say no.
Well, right, so that's, those are the ones, again, those are the ones we're talking about, the ones that the
Correct.
mama didn't know how to stop giving breast milk, so then when they turn out the way they do, then also the kids didn't know how to set the boundary, so that's why you have that conflict, you know?
Yes.
You have the tug of war
yes.
thing going on with mom, how dare you tell me you can't pay my bill? You've been paying it for the last 10 years, you know? No, let me tell you, I know children, I wouldn't even call them children, I don't even know what to call them. That's in their 50s that's still living at home, sleeping on their mama's couch,
Yeah.
No.
and would not get a place of their own.
Because they're entitled. They feel they don't have
Of
to.
course, but
Mhm.
whose fault is that? And
The
then again,
parent.
brings me back to say, those are the parents that's probably, you did it so long that the kids own you now. And I hate to use that
Own you.
terminology, but so
Yeah.
now you can't tell me no, because I will slap you upside your head, because you've been doing it for 10 years.
Mhm.
And you're right. And you also mentioned, Beverly, about the fear factor. There's a large percentage of parents that's afraid of their children. And the older they get, the worse it gets, because they're so afraid that they're going to hurt them that they just bow down and do whatever they say. And it's
Correct.
horrible.
Really?
It's horrible.
Can I
That's a
ask you, when I'm hearing what culture is this we talking about?
I don't
Honestly,
think-
I don't think it's- I don't think
Michael,
it's
there
about
is
culture.
no set culture, and I'm gonna tell you
Exactly.
because I know white people, Black
And-
people, Caribbean people, they all go, so there is
Exactly.
yeah,
There's no
I don't know
culture.
many.
there's no,
Oh, okay,
yeah,
that's why
there's
I'm
no
asking.
culture. Yeah, no, there is no set culture.
Mm-mm.
Right?
Oh, no,
Right?
there's not, because I mean, you just made me think. I have this white guy that I grew up, and I met him in a football camp in high school. And, we started hanging out. And one day I was at his house and his mother called him, like, John, like, damn, mom, what you want now? Shit. And I was like, balled up in the
Right.
corner, like, let me get out the way because he about to die, And she said, John, you shouldn't talk to me like that. And I'm looking at like, what the hell? Because me? Oh, man. Oh, man. I probably still be fighting my mom. And she did in 2001. I still be fighting her.
Right.
She's kicking your butt from here to next year,
Correct.
and then back again. No, our mommies don't play that, pal.
Oh, yeah.
No, they don't play that. Yeah, cannot
But
talk to some of them like that.
Well, and there's so many dynamics that goes on in the world and relationships of parenthood and being a child, that even I guess about 20 years ago when you used to watch shows like Maury Povich, where 5-year-olds were berating their parents, and I can't control my 5-year-old.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you talking about? What
Oh, you know,
5-year-old?
there's a law that you can't, my sister in California, she was saying there's a law that you can't raise your voice.
Right,
to
correct.
Children. I remember I was having some challenges with my son, and I had called the cops and they was like talking to me. So I said, like, okay, so let me tell you something. I may look younger than you are, but I'm older than you are. And I did not invite you in my house to disrespect me in front of my son. I said, I invite you into my house because I was having some challenges. And if you can't handle it, I respectfully ask you to call your supervisor.
Yeah, well, there's more, there goes
Yeah,
more
but
dynamics.
Yvette, I'm sorry, 1 second. It is, I read that it's considered child
Child
abuse
abuse.
if you shout at your children.
Well, obviously,
Not
for
only,
me,
you can't shout at your kids, poor children. You can't hit your kids, I mean, damn, you'll end up in jail. You cannot correct your kids. However, your kid could hit you, your kid could yell at you, and it's not parent abuse.
I
Not just
remember,
that, you
No.
can't,
I,
you can't yell at your kids. You can't hit your kids. You're limited as to how you're able to
How you can
your kids.
discipline your child.
But
I
at the same
remember,
time,
I remember this
cops
little
can-
girl. I remember
the
this little
cops can,
girl was 12 years old.
Well,
This
Stan,
little
hold on
girl
1 minute.
was, okay,
Stan, let Yvonne finish and then you go.
okay, go ahead.
no, I was saying you're limited to how you are able to discipline your kids when they're growing up. But it's okay for the cops to shoot your kids and kill them when
Yeah,
they go out there to do something. Because
exactly.
if you are, because look at how our parents were raised. Our parents were raised not, and especially from the islands, and I think even in the African American community, you had discipline.
yeah.
You were able to give your kids a spanking. Nobody was killing kids. Nobody was whipping their kids to death back in those days. But
Unfortunately,
it's a different situation, and really, what we have now is a generation of vipers.
yes.
Our kids
Well, we
are
have
totally,
parents are frustrated because
yeah.
the thing is that you are limited as much because even one day my 16-year-old son called diapers because I wouldn't buy him an expensive phone.
There you go.
Anyway, the lady came, she called me, and I said, okay. I said, well, if it's a problem that you have to take him out of the house because he doesn't want to abide with my rules, you have my permission, but I'm not home right now because he refused to come to whatever activity me and my other children were going to. She came the next day. She spoke with me. She spoke with him. I was on the porch. So she was leaving. So I looked. When she walked out the front door, I said, wait a minute.
Did you
I
forget
said, you
something?
forgot something. She said, what did I said, you forgot David because you came because he doesn't want to abide by my rules. So she laughed. She laughed. She says, oh, no. I spoke with David. I told David that if he doesn't want to listen, he wants them to take him out of the house, that he can either go in a shelter or he could go in a boarding house. So he said, oh, no. I changed my mind. I'll stay. I said, well, if you stay, I said, you got to understand that there's shared responsibility in this house. I am the mother. You are the child. When you
Right.
are 18 years old, you are a guest in my house.
Mm-hmm.
My rules still apply. You have to understand that there are rules out there in the street. Because once you go out my door, the dynamics change because you are at the mercy of the street. I am trying to teach you responsibility because I am not taking control. I cannot control your life. I do not expect you to control my life. You have to take responsibility for yourself because there are decisions to be made when you go out there and I am not around. So he looked at me. I said, you have the permission to leave, but then you also have the decision to make what you're going to do when you leave.
Right.
So he
Yeah.
looked at me and I looked at him. Nothing.
Okay, Stanley's next. Sorry.
No, I was saying, I remember this young girl. I might have been like 17 years old. This young girl was 12, and she came in the house at 1 o'clock, and her mother was tearing her tail up, and somebody called the cops, and the cops came, and you know we got a report of a child being abused or something of that nature, and the lady said, hold on, and she closed the door, and you know about 3 minutes later the cops started knocking on the door again. She opened the door, she threw the little girl out, she threw a garbage bag full of clothes out, and said, now listen, she's 12 years old. She brought her ass in my house at 1 o'clock. I don't do that. So if she can't do what I tell her to do and she can't abide by the rules in my house, you take her. And she closed the door. And them cops was banging on that door. I made that lady take that lady. Oh no. No. I understand that. You know, I'm gonna say this. Because we grew up in a culture where everything was whooped, a lot of us tended the first response to thing is to whoop somebody's behind.
Right.
And I don't think that that's right. Do I
No.
think that a child should be whooped? If he
Once in
pushed
a
me
while.
that far, he can get his behind whooped. You know what I'm saying? I ain't talking about beat him up where I'm trying to kill
Nope.
him. I mean, I'll spank his behind. But I don't think that should be the first one. But a lot of us, that's our first thing because that's what we were introduced to. That's how we were raised. You did something wrong, you're gonna get your behind whooped. But you know, we just got to be mindful. We got to be conscious. You know, everything that our parents did to us, we can't do to our children.
No.
Everything we
That's
can't. You know,
saying
have
that
a
was adopted.
again.
That was adopted from the slave. That was the slave. That's how they kept us in line,
Exactly.
right? So it's passed down.
Exactly. So you know, we do need to sit down and we do need to measure. Listen, as a child, I was abused. When my mother whooped us, it was like war. It was like war. I mean, I'm just telling you the God's honest truth. One time she was whooping me with an extension cord and I got it and I wrapped it around her and I looked my mother in the face and I'm like, what the hell are you doing? You know, like why you hitting me like you trying to kill me? You know, I had to leave. I left the house. I didn't come home for 3 days. But I'm just saying, you know, it was like, what the hell is going on? But you know, so no, I never, and Manuel will tell you, I've never whooped him like that. Never. A matter of fact, I can't say that. One time I beat my son in anger, but that was a promise I made to myself. I said I would never beat my child in anger. I would never, you know, beat my child and lose that kind of control over my child because that just wasn't right. But but you know, some of us, you know, I lost. No, I didn't make you do nothing. You did that because you just didn't. Well, that's the way you did it, you know. And I found out later on my mother was very abused as a child, you know, and so she was just giving to me what she received. But that doesn't make it right. When you know better, you're supposed to do better. And a lot of us, we don't do better. We don't do better.
Because we
Even though we have the
continue.
opportunity to learn.
Right, and that's when we did the things that was passed down last year. And that's true, because now though, I think most of us are in a different place that we understand that we have to have conversation with our children. We cannot be the way we were, like we were supposed to be seen and not be heard. We can't no longer do that because there's so much things that's going on with children now that they have to express themselves to us. Even sometimes, you know, you may be tired and your kid's talking to you. You have to pay attention. You have to listen to those little things that they're saying.
Yeah, but guess what, Bev? That is harder to do, having a conversation than pulling out something and whipping. That's quicker. It makes an impact faster. The delivery is stronger and impactful. So that's where we go. We go to the easiest, quickest, most impactful thing so that the brain cells of the child will say, I will never do that again.
Those are learned behavior. Those are learned behavior passed down from the slave master, the rod of correction.
And some children don't say, I'm never going to do that again. I'm never going to get caught again.
Right. So sometimes, yes, the statement is correct to the point where that is a result or that's an action that occurs. As we grow older, if we tend to be open up to learning, then we realize that there are times when a look, a word can carry more weight than a blow. And this is where we have to realize and differentiate to say, hey, because some kids, you can hit them so hard, it's like, I don't care. I'm not going to cry. You hit them harder, it don't matter. Doesn't matter what you do. You're not going to make me cry. And I'm going to still turn around and do the same thing over and over. There's a spirit that some kids that we don't learn to observe what is their true nature and their spirit and how to deal with that spirit.
Correct.
We have to learn our children They don't have to
And
learn
every
earth.
and every child is not the same. You got to learn that
Absolutely.
too.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
If you have
Every
five,
child
if
is
you
not
have
the same.
5 children, you have 5 different personalities. If you have
Yeah,
2,
you
you have
do.
2 different personalities.
That's
Right.
real.
You
That's
know,
real.
and
and
also
you know, and
when you
but,
hit the kid, you're just teaching them, because these kids now they're getting bigger than you, they're getting stronger than you, and guess what? They fight you.
Yeah.
well,
Some
we'll
of them,
put them up
some of them
to
will
me.
try. Some of them will
Some of them,
try.
right? Use the correct word, Mr. Husband. Some of them will
I was getting ready to say
try.
the same thing. I was going to say the same thing.
They will try. But guess what? It's like anything else. You let them know the first time they attempt that it's not going to happen.
Again,
Put them
I think
in
that's how
place.
I think that's how that saying was created. I made you and I'll take you out.
I brought you
No,
in.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I brought
there
you in, and I
there
take
yeah.
are
you out.
some children who have murdered their parents, young
Oh well,
kids.
I mean we know that. I mean, you know, it can happen.
Yes.
But those they're gonna just learn the hard way. But you know, for example, look at Texas. In the school, that a
Yes.
5-year-old that put the teacher in the
Yes. I was about to
hospital,
say that. Right.
Wow.
right?
A
But the
5-year-old.
thing that that went on too long. This is the 3rd time that child have done that. Okay, so something should have been done. However, I have to say that's an artistic child. And if anybody work around these children,
They're
they
very
have the
strong.
strength of all of us put together on this
Yeah.
Zoom. And you look at them, they be this little, but the
Mm-hmm.
strength that they possess is
Right.
unreal.
Yep.
So you can easily see it happening, you know?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
Bev, I have to go.
Okay,
All right. Yeah, I'm
all right.
so
Thank
glad
you
to
so
see
much for
everybody.
attending.
Of
Good
course, of
night.
course. I'm so glad I was able to tonight. Okay.
Thank you,
Good night,
appreciate you.
everybody.
Good night.
Yes.
Pleasure
Night.
meeting you.
Good night.
Well,
Good night.
Bev, I'm glad I did not hang on to my son. I let him go.
I'm glad, well, I'm glad, I'm glad for you
I
too.
let him
But you
go.
know, I mean, you
He's
know,
in the
like, you
army
know,
now.
I have to say, you know, by right, when we having this conversation, we're not saying that you can't nurture your son and love your son, because by us doing that, gives him the ability to pass that on to his woman, his spouse, or whoever. Because he's a male does not mean that he cannot be nurturing or
That's
be a
real.
nurturer. Okay, so those are the things that we do not teach our boy children, right? They're supposed to be tough. They're supposed to be a man. You're not supposed to show your emotions. You're not supposed to cry. You're not supposed to. We have all these rules that male child, young men are not supposed to do. Whereas we can be emotional, we can be everything, and it doesn't matter. So so it's okay for us to nurture them and show them love. The thing is, a lot of us, like myself, never learned that at a young age, you know, because we didn't have it. It wasn't passed on to us. So
But
we
we
develop
all
it later
change,
on.
because I'm quite sure if you 60 years and older, some of us have been brought up in abusive situation, but because of our life experiences and the people that we cultivate around us, it makes us different.
Correct.
Right. I agree.
And if it
1000%.
did, and if it didn't, Yvette, then something's definitely wrong with us. Because you know what?
Right. And you had to be different. You had to change, because you can't go to work with an attitude. You know you need to keep your job. You got to deal with folks in the street. You got to know how to think.
Not right. And even family wise, you know, like some of us who have grandchildren, we have to interact with them differently than our parents did with us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? It's funny you say that, because as a grandparent, you deal with your children a whole lot different than you did, you know, your grandchildren you did with your parent. I remember looking at my mother one day. She asked me, why did I beat my son? And all I could do was just stare at her. I think I stared at my mother for like 10 minutes. She was like, what the hell are you looking at me for? And I'm saying to myself, like, who the hell are you and what made you ask me that dumb question? The way you used to try to kill us. Why did I beat my son? And who are you? Who is this woman?
You ever got licked with the electric cord, the iron cord?
Oh,
And
please.
if whatever was near my
Had
mother's
reached.
hand,
That's
if she
it.
was cooking, I better move because I might get hit with the damn pot and the grease
That's
too.
right.
Absolutely. Well, it's nothing like for us Caribbean parents when they send you out to get a piece of string, the tambourine tree,
What?
right?
Yeah.
Twitch.
We know that
The twitch.
that's one that never breaks.
Right?
Yeah.
And if,
If you-
and if you bring a one that's gonna break after they hit you twice, then you get the belt on the electric
You're gonna get
cord,
another
right?
whooping. You're gonna get a whooping for bringing me that cheap piece of
Right,
string.
right.
Has,
But-
has
Exactly.
anybody ever got licking for every word that comes out of his mouth, her mouth? Did
Oh, yeah.
I tell you not to?
Or you crying, I give you something to cry for.
There you go.
But sometimes what I've done, I looked at that and I say, you know what? Sometimes it was over, it was excessive, but what was the reasoning behind some of that
Yeah.
stuff?
Yes,
A
you
lot
should
of that
always
stuff
think. You
was
got to always think through things. Yeah, you're right.
is to prevent us from getting into trouble because they know if we got into trouble, it's gonna be 10 times worse. If you get arrested, it's gonna be 10
Becomes
times
their
worse.
responsibility.
It worked for us. It worked for our
But
generation.
yeah,
Right,
it's not working.
right.
It's not working
That
for
was
this
that.
generation.
Oh,
No, we
no.
know that.
It's not working for everybody in this generation. And then you
Correct.
got a lot of people who are new parents. You know, wow, my parent did this. I'm not gonna do that. My parent did. I'm not gonna do that. Or I didn't do that. You know. Hey, listen, different strokes for different folks. Like I said,
Yeah.
I whooped my son in anger one time, and that's because he hit he slapped my grandmother, and I just lost it. But after that, you know, I always made sure that it was a conscious, you know, if I spanked his behind, it was, you know, under control. It wasn't, I just grabbed something and start swinging and hitting. You know, I didn't do that. And we always had a conversation. And matter of fact, Manuel, I'll tell you right now, I tell him, if I get the belt, I'm going to use it.
Mm-hmm.
So don't make me get the belt. Because if I get up and go get it, I'm going to use it. And you know, so, you know, it's just like how conscious we are. Like I said, my mother's and my stepfather's mistakes, I made them my tools. That, you know, I'm not gonna do my child like this. I'm not gonna do this to my child. I'm not gonna do that to my child. You know, it just helped me grow. Some people can't do it. And then
I
some of us are
basically
not
said the same
emotionally,
thing.
a lot of us are not emotionally sound enough to think that on that level.
Mm-hmm.
You
Well,
got some crazy
you know,
people in this world.
yeah, well, I basically, but you know, there are always the abusers. Okay, so this is gonna lead me to say that the conversation is why mothers don't play. So is that everything we talked about are those reasons why
Yeah.
mothers don't let go of their sons? Let's take it back there.
Regardless of what we did, we just want the best for our sons. But then sometimes we end up getting the worst.
Yeah.
That is true. That is true.
And you know what? Let me just say this, and I don't want to be crazy, but that's a conscious mother, because some mothers are on that tip where, you know, I'm gonna teach my child to hustle. I'm gonna teach my child to get over. I'm gonna teach my child to beat the system. You know, so you know, we just gotta be conscious, and you know, everybody does not have the same control of their emotions in their, you know, environment. You know, a lot of people just want to how I can get over. You know, some of these young drug dealers, their mothers was they first experience. You know,
So-
some of these prostitutes, pimps, their mother was their first experience. You know, a lot of mothers damage their children, not just their sons, their children, but especially their sons. And a lot of, you know, like say a woman was with the father, and he was a hustler, and the father got killed or he got locked up. Then guess what? I'm gonna raise my son to be a hustler because I enjoyed that life that he provided for me, or that way that we lived with him. So now I'm gonna teach my son to do that. And that's where
So
a lot of stuff.
so that could be a reason why she don't want to let go of him, because he's got to hustle for her.
Yep, exactly.
Bev, I believe that in some cases, you have mothers that substitute their poor relationships with the father and the men in their lives, and they make that son child that man that's missing in their life. And they put that child in an adult situation, when he's young, and then they allow him to grow up saying, you're the man of the house, you're the man of the
Yep.
house. He's just a
Yeah.
child needed nurturing.
Yeah.
Correct.
And so that dynamic is what started, and then it kind of like set the pace. And
Yeah.
it's not a positive situation because she's been manipulating his life that he's the man of the house and her man, because she started treating him like her man rather than her son.
Correct.
That's a great
Yep.
disservice to that child, because now you're confusing the child. And
That
so,
is true.
Okay,
And
so, all right. So even while you're saying this, and that's a question, everybody. So as you make that statement, is the son become a substitute for mommy having a man?
yes,
Yes.
Yeah.
So
yes.
long as he's the man of the house, mommy would never have a man.
For the most part, yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
and not only would she not have a man, you would pray that she do not have some mental issue or dysfunctions to the point where she miscue the line and try to literally make him the man. An incest start. So
And
it's a
some
lot
women,
here that you gotta
some
watch,
women are like
you
that.
know? So you have to watch all of that, because all of that comes into play when you start fantasizing about what you want in life, what it could be in life. And now you have your child here who's representing your man that do whatever it is that you want him to do because he love you, because you're mommy. And you start abusing your authority because you're the authoritative person, you're the parent.
There you
So
go.
you just gotta be careful, because you have a lot of that happen. And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
really sad because the child is innocent. And because the child is innocent, they don't know they're doing something wrong. They're just doing what mommy told them to do.
Yeah.
So eventually, as he gets older, does he acknowledge that that's not right? Or is
He
something wrong
acknowledged
with
it,
it?
but he acknowledged it, but it's hard though, because he acknowledged it, but when he acknowledged it, after he come to realization, then he also wearing a shame with that, because he didn't know. And so now you have abused his pureness, and he has to go through life feeling ashamed of something that you, as a parental person and the person that's supposed to protect him, you created. So
Right.
it's just not good at all. And I've seen it all the time, and it's really sad when you see it, because now
But
he's-
then you also have fathers that have sexual relationships with their sons.
Yeah,
too.
but we're
That's all
talking
she's
about
talking about.
mothers.
Yeah, we're
so-
doing the mother. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, it's sad, because it's abuse in, all parts. So
Yeah, even the reason why we say that, because we know that happens with fathers all the time. So it's like, so when we talk about mothers are doing the same thing, and that being part of the reason behind them not letting go of their sons, you really hear about the things that women or mothers do, right? The men, whatever you do, is always out there, we're quick to jump on that. So yeah, so we can definitely agree with that.
That uncomfortable conversation.
Correct. Correct.
So
Got that.
again,
Got you.
when I ask culturally, yes, I've been around some countries and different types of areas in the States. So when I say that, and obviously people on this panel, when I'm hearing that Black, Asian, Hispanic, white, Middle Eastern, Indian culture, whoever it may be, I don't hear this. And I understand when we say here and what we know, what we hear is basically not heavily of the Black culture with all this that I'm hearing.
Can I
Michael,
respond,
it happens in every culture.
It happens. It happens.
You know what?
with
But
just
what happened,
you.
hold on, Yvette. But what happens is that we mostly talk about things that happen in our culture. Anything that negative, they mention our culture, correct? All these things is happening way before us.
Way before.
Biblical time, if you go back there, it's happening there. I'm going to give you an example, right? When we were younger, and I know for me, we speak a language called patois, broken French, whatever. When they did not want us to understand what they're saying, those was the language, right? but
Mhm.
these things were happening. It was
Yes.
adult conversation. We
Right.
never hear about it, right? But what we talking about happens in white, Asian, Indian,
Every single one.
Muslim,
It
everyone,
happened in
Christian,
every
whatever they
walk,
want to call it, happens in every single culture.
May I
Okay,
every
add,
walk of life.
Beverly? May I
Yeah.
add,
sorry.
it happened, but we as a people have been taught that what's happened in the house, stay in the house. So African
Correct.
Americans have been
No,
taught
but do you
hide
go
things.
back to where sex was actually a religion?
And,
I don't know
some
about
people,
that,
some
but we
people
was
still
taught to
apply
hide
to that.
people.
You
Some
know
people
what? So
still,
listen,
some people still apply to
we're
that.
gonna listen. We're gonna stick to the topic tonight.
Mhm.
Okay, that's a whole different conversation.
Yes, I
Um,
agree. But I say we was
okay.
taught as a people to more or less not talk about family issues in public.
Correct.
We weren't allowed to
Mhm.
talk about what is going on at home. The big mom and them would tell us, you don't tell family business in the street. You know, so with that being said, when you ask what cultures, it's multiple. It's a human being thing. It's a society
Correct.
thing. You know, it
There
has
you
nothing
go.
to do with where you come from. You know, it's in
Correct.
all walks of life. It's
Mhm.
happening.
It was just hidden more
Hidden.
in your own culture.
Correct.
It was exposed. You can see everybody else doing it and be like, oh man, the white people crazy, but them
No,
Chinese people crazy.
that was the
But
family
guess what?
secret.
But we did the same thing. Like, I found out. I think I knew earlier, but I really found out when I was 45 years old that, I never met my grandfather on my mother's side. I never met my mother's father. She told me about this guy named, Joseph and all this other stuff. I always met him, but I never met him. And then as I got older, you hear things, but you don't pay attention. And then my aunt, my grandmother's sister, I asked her about my grandfather, and she told me the truth. The man that I call my uncle was my grandfather, and he was my grandmother's sister's husband. So all the women that I call my cousins were really my aunts.
Mm.
Yeah,
And,
that's right.
and
So
guess what? And I love her to death, but she took that to her grave. She never told the
Mhm.
truth about it. She took it to her grave, and so did he. But
Mhm.
but those are things that was happening.
Yep.
We used to call retarded people, we used to call them retarded, now they special
okay,
ed. But guess what?
so
It's a crazy, it's a
we're
crazy,
way
it's a
off
crazy situation.
topic. That have
No, we're
nothing to
not.
do with Mama Let My Son Go. Okay, we're way
I'm
off the
just saying
topic,
that
and
it
I'm
happens.
not
It
gonna let
happens
you
in
all get
No,
all.
that far off a topic.
no, but Beverly, it's an integral part of the
Okay,
subject, except it doesn't mention.
we're gonna stick to the topic. That
It's
could be another
uncomfortable, but that's not the
discussion.
topic for tonight.
Okay,
Correct.
get the
Thank
glue,
you.
Just
get some glue, and let's
Okay,
put it back
so
to the topic.
so okay, so as it's okay, we're gonna be ending in a few. So what I'd like for you guys to do, guests especially, in the chat, mention some topics that you would like us to discuss.
Mhm.
Okay? And if you're listening on Facebook, please do the same.
Oh, can
So
I interject?
sure you may.
Okay.
The song very okay, you're breaking up. If you're not if you're off top, listen, if you're off topic, I'm not gonna listen.
Okay, I'm on topic. I'm on
Okay,
topic.
good. Okay,
It,
cool.
it was a situation where I was in where a mother babied her son. It's to where it was one day I came in from work and I said garbage can lid sitting in the middle of the floor. And I said, what is this doing? She's like, her son got upset because she told him to take out the garbage. And he grabbed the thing out and threw the garbage can lid in the middle of the floor and stormed out and drove on off. And I'm like, and you let him get away with that? Aren't you babying him a little bit too much right there? And then he said, well, he'll get it when he come back in later. I said, why? Why would I have to walk around my kitchen with a garbage can lid sitting in the middle of the floor? Because he didn't want to take out the garbage but we're providing everything here for them. And now you get upset because of something like that.
Well,
Wait a minute. Can you be?
we have bad connection. I know you're at work, so the connection is kind of bad.
Yeah. Okay. Can
Oh, I
anybody hear me?
thought you was,
That's better.
I thought you were taking
Better.
him off the topic. I thought you were taking him off of the conversation.
Yeah, your connection is bad. Well, you know what? Okay, so I could, yeah, we have bad connection. So it's the same concept, right? Okay, I know a lot of men who is married or living with women. When their mama call, they gotta jump. If your mama call and your wife call, your mama comes first. You leave whatever the wife asks you to do and you run to your mama. Payday, mama needs money. Okay, so it's the same thing. Those are all what I can't let go. Mommy, let me go. You come first. You come before my wife. You come before my girlfriend. Mama is so bold and she feels so comfortable because you never have that boundary set for her that she can walk into your wife's home. And I'm going to say your wife home because if you married her and you provide a home, that's her house. Your mother does not have that right to barge in whenever she feels like it. You as the man need to set boundary for mama. Mama, me and my wife plan on doing this today. Today's not your day, maybe on Sunday. Unless mama is sick or something is wrong with her where she needs immediate attention, she does not come first.
Yeah. May I comment on that?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I agree to an extent. I believe that a man should respect and reverence his mother. However, yes, they do need to be.
Before you continue, hold on one second. I never said he should not.
No, you didn't.
His mama.
No, that was just my beginning. What I'm getting ready to say.
Okay.
That's just the beginning, my intro. What I'm about to say. I feel how a man treat his mother, that's how he's going to treat his woman. If a man loves his mother and respects his mother, he's going to love and respect you. However, yes, there need to be a balance, So I would say to him, yes, I understand your mama have a need, or not, I don't like using the word mama like that, but your mother have a need. However,
Dwayne, mute yourself, please.
Okay. There are some mothers that they're very manipulative, and what they actually do, they will say things like, you can get many wives, you can get another wife, but you will only have one mother.
Just right.
And correct.
And I mean, that is true. That is true, but they'll use that to give them a path.
But they'll tell you how many years they don't change your diapers.
Correct.
How long they give labor?
Well,
and the whole, they go through the whole history book about
that's manipulation.
But you being a woman that is wise and know better and know what mama is doing, have to appease to that innocence. And you'll say, okay, baby, mama do need you, but I need you too. So what is it that we need to do for mama? We're going to go do that together. And so guess what? You learn to build that bridge, whereas guess what? He no longer separate the things he do for you and mama because he know that you're interested. He know that you're involved. And it's you pretty much counter approaching mama manipulation. Because when he come at you about mama, you like, okay, babe, what mom need today? Well, hey, mom, he said that you need this. Okay, I'm gonna come do it for you. So yes, you're absolutely right. But then there are some people that you can't do that with. So I do understand.
Okay, so right. So Eva, that's the same concept like a child, right? Like a lot of women believe that and then I said when your kids are young, believe that they should put their children before their husband, right? Me, I believe otherwise. When your kids get a certain age, they've got to learn, like, you know what, baby, mommy love you, daddy love you, but this is not your time. We need our time. So same thing with mama. It's okay to say what your mama need, but there's a time for when your mama need. Like I just said, if you do it once, twice, every time, guess what? It becomes habit. Anything you do repeatedly becomes a habit. So now mama is used to saying, okay, what can we do for mama today? Guess what? She's going to do it consistently, right? So that's why I'm saying that you have to be able to say, mama, is it an emergency? No, it's not. Guess what? I will do it tomorrow. There's times when, yes, you're going to have to put that wife second and do, but not consistently. Mama don't get to disrupt your life every single time she needs something.
Correct.
So
Correct.
he
It's
needs
called
to take a stand.
communication.
So that's what I was saying. And it has nothing to be disrespectful. I'm not
Correct.
saying for him to disrespect his mother,
Right.
but his mother has to know her place. She has to understand, and he needs to set boundaries for mama.
Yes,
That's correct. But you know what? Sometimes I know the mama that do things when the son is not around. So it's kind of like knowing how to be at peace and have war, I guess, for lack of a better word. Because you have the mama that she would say little sick things and do things, but all the time it's not like the son really know what she's saying and doing. So that's why I said you seeing what she's doing, being a woman and being wiser, have to pretty much know how to deal with mama on the side, long as that son is respecting doing his thing, you know, and then try to have a balance. But to each his own. I had a mother-in-law
We're talking about manipulation. We're talking about manipulating.
Oh, I had a
Sometimes you
mother-in-law
gotta
that
keep
did that.
that mother-in-law's tongue. You know that plant in your house, and every time he turn his back, you gotta see a few things to that plant.
No.
That you don't want to say to his mama.
I had one, so I understand. I had one that told me if I wasn't calling her mama, I might as well. What'd she say? I had to call her mama or not her name. I was like,
yeah, no, that's what you're saying to the plant, but you ain't saying it to mama.
you know, so I understand, but she grew to love me to pieces. So I'm just saying that when you know better, you do better. Everything you say, Beverly, is 100%. I'm just saying that sometimes the devil come in and steal, kill, and destroy. So you gotta know how to counter that, because she's trying to be a bridge into and destroy your marriage. So if you love this person and he loves you,
honey.
you know, if he loves you and, you know, he has to learn that, okay, if you want this relationship to last, then guess what? You're going to have to come to some type of term with how you're going to deal with your mother and me. So I agree with, you know, what you said, but he has to make that determination if he wants a relationship.
That's why I'm saying he's the one that needs to set the boundary. I don't need to set the boundary for him and his mom. He needs to set it. By the same token, I need to set my expectation as the wife.
Correct.
Or even the girlfriend, because he chose me. So she does not get to dictate my time.
True.
Yeah.
On that note, guys, it is 10 o'clock, the awesome conversation. In 2 weeks, we're going to be doing mental health. So much things is happening surrounding that now that it's definitely a needed conversation. So as usual, you guys are much appreciated. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for hosting.
See you on there.
Beverly, thank you for reminding me that I'm crazy.
Listen, Yvette, believe it or not, we all have a little of that in us. When pushed to the limits, I always say we never know what we are capable of doing. We could say, I'm not going to do this all I want to or all you want to, but push us for it and see what happens.
Especially those mamas that like to cling on their son.
Yeah.
Well, they find themselves with some lonely sons
Listen.
after a while, because people don't put up with it. You're gonna be by yourself.
Listen, my umbilical cord has been cut. Breast milk has been cut off a long time ago. That breast milk is for somebody else.
Uh-oh. You go, Queen.
We know you did your job. You have beautiful, mature children.
Thank you. Much appreciated. Mr. Husband, he's heard worse than that. Trust me.
And the funny thing, he has the right name too.
Yeah, he does. He did a good job today. You did him and Stan.
Yes.
Good job, Stan.
Stan, we gonna see you next time. Listen, I keep saying it.
No, he gotta ask his mama. What's wrong with you, girl?
And Mike, that's the original uncomfortable conversation, right?
That's right.
He's on
You're
mute.
muted, Stan, you're muted.
He's on
Unmute
mute.
yourself, Stan.
I'm
Talking.
just pulling your leg. I just pulling your leg.
Don't pull it off, please.
No.
Good job
Stan,
tonight.
You're
Good job.
muted. Unmute yourself, Stan. We can't hear you.
What are you gonna play now,
Have
Beverly?
sleep.
Beverly,
I'm sorry. Yes.
what are you gonna play? Unchained Melody?
Ooh, wow.
Oh, listen, you got to put that request, Mr. We got a master DJ there. He needs to close us out with some good music going
Unchained
forward.
Melody.
Unchained Melody.
Oh, my love.
I enjoyed the conversation, everybody, and hopefully I will be back in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Most
Stanley, I
definitely.
was just telling them you're one of the original uncomfortable conversation, right? That was
That's
her
right,
thing.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is I was we started what 3 years ago, 2 years ago?
Stan, we had the pandemic for almost 3 years now. We're going
Oh.
back like 2018.
Hey,
17.
time and tide waits for no man.
It
But a
waits for
woman
no
waits for
man.
them all.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-mm.
So like I said, on the 24th, we're gonna start mental health and then talk about dementia a little bit, you know?
On the
So-
24th, I have a women's history event, so I may not be able to join that night. I might come in late. So you stay until 10. I might be able to join. I'm not sure yet. But right now I know the program is from 4 to 8. And by the time we finish with everything, I'll probably be coming home. Y'all be shutting down. So I may not make the
Okay.
24th.
It's okay.
Well,
It's okay.
ladies,
You
it's good to see
appreciate it.
everybody. Stay safe and stay well.
You
Okay.
too.
All right.
And listen,
Thank you
Bye.
guys.
COVID is
night.
dying, but it ain't dead.
Yeah.
Correct. And we have to be mindful of that.
Yes, ma'am.
All
Good
right,
night, all.
guys. Good night. Thank you
Okay.
again.
Thank you.
Good night.
Ciao.
Good night.
Bye.
Yeah, I'm glad. All right.
Okay.
Bye.